recently I've been watching through, I think, one of the best film trilogies of all time.
Oh yeah.
The most consistent, most constantly entertaining. I think only beaten by the Toy Story trilogy.
Yeah.
It's the Vengeance Trilogy, directed by Park Chan-wook, one of the greatest filmmakers living today, in my opinion.
Yep.
His filmography is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just filled with classic after classic after classic.
Yeah. Even the underrated ones like Stoker are still great.
Yeah, Stoker and I'm a Cyborg, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. He manages to take really complex thematic ideas and kind of suits it to a public audience.
Yeah.
Which is what I really like about him. Can you believe that stuff like Oldboy, it was like blockbuster material in South Korea?
Yeah.
I just think South Korean general audiences have a better taste than our general audiences.
Yeah.
You know, so like The Host. Like The Host is the biggest film ever made in South Korea, like the most successful film ever made.
Yeah.
And that's a great film. It's like a classic.
Is it better than America's most successful film, Star Wars?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, yeah. The Host is better than Star Wars.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. So, like, from kind of the wave of kind of East Asian cinema that was coming out in the early 2000s into the West, the one that caught on, most people point is the most Western of the trilogy, is Oldboy.
Yeah. So successful over here, it was remade into a terrible, terrible Spike Lee film.
One of the reasons why we wanted to start doing a YouTube channel in the first place, because we watched the American remake of Oldboy, like, oh damn, it's a shame we don't have a camera to record our review of it. Maybe we'll come back to it one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe as like our 1 year anniversary of Absence of Waldo, we'll do the thing that inspired the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the original Oldboy came out, I think it was 2003.
Yeah.
It's the second film in the Vengeance Trilogy. So the Vengeance Trilogy are a set of films not connected by kind of characters or even settings or even like plot threads. It's just they're all connected by the theme of revenge and vengeance.
Yeah.
And each film takes a different look at that theme, a slightly different look. Oldboy is on the more cartoonish end of the scale.
But it's based on a manga, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's clearly shown in the film. It is incredibly over the top. And it shows the extremes that people would be willing to go for revenge and how ultimately empty it all is. It's all a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Oldboy, if you don't know the story, is about a chap called Odesu, who's a bit of a dick. He's like a business worker, office worker. Alcoholic dickhead, yeah. He's got a young daughter, he's got a wife, but we don't see much of them. He's a drunk, he's a dickhead, and it's clear that he's had a negative impact on people throughout his life. And then one day he's captured and he's imprisoned for 15 years in this weird hotel. And in that time, the whole of South Korea transforms while he is still stuck inside.
Yeah.
He trains, he gets strong, and he ultimately concludes that he wants to ultimately get out and escape and find the guy that imprisoned him. He's got to find out who it is and why he did it. One day, randomly, when he's just about to make his escape, he's let go. And he begins a kind of Alice down the rabbit hole journey, trying to work out who did it and what the reasons were.
Yep.
Ultimately leads him to, it leads to insane ends. So in between, you've got over-the-top anime-style fighting, you've got detective mysteries involving dumplings, you got a bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
It's an incredible film, I think. Yeah. It's exhilarating. It's so incredibly well made. I think Park Chan-wook's got such a handling of the cinematic form. He can kind of do whatever he wants.
Yep.
You kind of have to adjust yourself a little bit to some of his films, I think, because it is kind of the way he does storytelling is so different to anybody else. I think.
Yeah.
He makes use of like monologue and different film stocks and weird editing and placing scenes where it shouldn't be and explaining elements of the story kind of later, and he kind of sews it all in between essentially.
Yeah.
So what Odesu finds eventually down the line is that this is all spoilers.
Spoiler alert now for the end of Oldboy, one of the most famous twists of all time.
Yeah. If you've not seen Oldboy, just switch this review off right now.
And then go watch it and come back.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's on American and British Netflix, so, no excuse.
Just don't get it mixed up with the American one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like at the end, what through the mystery he finds when he's been hanging out with this kind of sushi restaurant girl who's been helping her, what he finds is that the reason why his captor imprisoned him in the first place was because Odesu, as like a young teenager, revealed that this crazy guy was sleeping with his sister, and she was pregnant. She wasn't really pregnant; it was a girl's pregnancy, but she was so convinced that she wants to kill herself. The sister kills herself, and then from that day, the boy is on a seeking revenge against Odesu, and he spends like 20 years concocting this elaborate plan of revenge to get to him. Essentially, all Odesu wants to do is just track down the guy and kill him, and that will be his revenge, and that's all he wants. While this guy, if you're going to take revenge on somebody, that's how you do it. Through the help of a hypnotist, he manages to get Odesu to sleep with his daughter, who is now grown up, in one of the most shocking twists I think ever in film. It gets him to sleep with his daughter, and that completely destroys him as a person. Odesu thinks he's got a real handling of the situation. He thinks he's on top, and he thinks he's kind of got the whole situation sorted, like, I guess I finally caught him. But then, nope, the rug is completely pulled from underneath your feet, as in Odesu and the audience. And this, it's an amazing reveal, because the villain's constructed like this photo album. So you see Odesu, like in a family photograph of him and his daughter when she was a baby, and then his wife, and then you slowly going through, you see this little girl grow up. Over 15 years, you're like, oh my god! And you're like, oh fuck! And then like Odesu's like, oh my god, I'll be a dog for you, and I'll chop out my tongue, and yes, and he actually does, and it's incredibly graphic, incredibly difficult scene to watch. It's, to be honest, I find all like the whole thing of Oldboy like exhilarating. Like, when I first saw this film in uni, I kind of left the screening almost like shaking. Because I've never been like that involved in a film before, to the point where I was shaking at the end. I think it's a sign that your filmmaker's done something good. You've seen Oldboy, haven't you?
I've seen it a couple of times. I watched it probably actually before. I watched it in high school.
Oh yeah.
I was like 15 at the time.
Oh yeah.
I watched it again a couple of years ago. But yeah, I can remember it's a really vivid, great film.
Yeah.
It is. It's amazing. The best. You've not even mentioned the best scene yet either. The elevator fight.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's almost done like a 2D side-scroller beat 'em up. Even though Chan-wook says that wasn't the intention, a lot of people said it was kind of like that. And it's an amazing scene. It's all done in one take. The only bit of CGI done was to put a stake in Odesu's back, and he's taken on about 20 or so guys, and it's all like hand-to-hand combat, and it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Other famous scene is where he eats the live octopus.
Eats the octopus,
That's a really famous sequence. Famously, the actor nearly choked because, and he was a vegetarian as well. Because apparently, it's a live octopus and you're eating it. Apparently, the suckers, the tentacles, can like grab onto your throat.
Jesus.
As you're like swallowing it. So he almost choked.
Oof.
But this part, I don't know what the actor's name is, but he is absolutely phenomenal. He completely gives himself to the role, and he gets so much abuse in Chan-wook's film because he's in Lady Vengeance as well. And he gets a lot of abuse in that film as well. But in Oldboy, he completely gives himself 100% to the role. I love the guy that plays the villain as well. He's
amazing.
Suitably creepy and weird, and he manages to take an incredibly silly, over-the-top role and makes it completely convincing.
Not what Charlton Copley did.
No, absolutely not what Charlton Copley did.
Another image actually that's haunting from this is, so in the end, after the whole thing, he kills himself, doesn't he, the bad guy? But the bit that is like, it's just a shot, it's the shot where he kills himself, because it's all done in like it's all in widescreen, it looks amazing, it's like that, and he just like smiles and puts it to his head and kills himself. And it's an amazing shot, just the way it's done.
There's an amazing like recurring motif in Oldboy of the painting of kind of this kind of disturbing man, like a big like broad, almost Joker-esque smile.
Grin,
That's it, And the quote of the painting is, laugh and the world laughs at you, weep and you weep alone, and that's kind of what ties the entire film together. So it links it all to the ending. When after the reveal, and Odesu's been completely destroyed as a man, he seeks the help of the hypnotist who did all the stuff on Odesu and his daughter. and he basically asks for any memories of the reveal to be taken away from him.
Yeah.
I mean, right at the end, it's left up to you.
Ambiguous.
It's ambiguous, to decide whether he remembers all. And she's like, "Oh, Dae-soo, I found you again. Where were you?" And he kind of gives you a big hug, and at first he's like smiling, and he kind of like turns.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. That's another amazing image.
Yeah.
And
it's just littered with great moments and images, and
yeah,
it's one of the best films of the last decade, easily.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in my top 10 favourite films, definitely.
Have you heard the controversy it did when it played at Cannes?
No.
This film was in competition with Fahrenheit 9/11 to win the what's it called, the Grand Prix,
the Golden Lion.
Yeah, the Grand Prix there's one that's like the Golden Prix or something.
Yeah, that's
the best director.
The Grand Prix, yeah.
It won that. It won the best director, and Fahrenheit 9/11 won best film.
Oh no.
And apparently Quentin Tarantino really wanted Oldboy to win.
Yeah.
And was like whinging about the fact Fahrenheit 9/11 won.
Ugh.
And there were a big controversy over the fact that they'd given it to... A lot of people thought they'd given it to that just so it would get bigger press and stop George Bush from winning.
Yeah.
Because it's clear which is a better film.
Yeah, obviously.
Easily, yeah.
Easily, yeah. Park Chan-wook manages to take controversial material and doesn't force it down your throat, unlike Michael Moore.
Yeah.
No, that's depressing.
Yes, I didn't know if you knew, but I thought you'd be depressed by that.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing.
Yeah.
That's like if Kevin Smith won, like you said, Oldboy.
Well, he beat Paul Thomas Anderson for Punch Drunk Love in Too Bad No Joke. That'd be good though.
Yeah, that would be. So it's like an exhilarating roller coaster ride. It's incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
And it will stick with you. You will be playing the images in your mind for days and days and days after you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
It's and in years as well. Years. It's not just weeks.
Yeah.
It's one that really sticks with you. It is a bona fide classic, and one of the big reasons why East Asian cinema managed to kind of get a lot of crossover into the West. I can see why this one would catch on more than something like Lady Vengeance.
Yeah.
Oldboy is definitely more popularist. It's huge. It's operatic. It's grand. In a similar way to Lady Vengeance, but I think because Oldboy is almost like cartoonish anime-esque, I can see why a lot of people would kind of fall in line with it.
And also the twist. Everyone talks about a twist. Everyone wants to see what it is.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it's just an amazingly directed action film. Like before I'd seen the film, I had heard about the fight scene.
Yeah.
And like you can imagine like the description of that. Like, oh yeah, I'm pumped. I want to see it now.
Yeah.
More than like I've seen Lady Vengeance, but I can't remember any scene in it having the notoriety of that or.
No.
You
see, I'll get into this about Lady Vengeance with you, but I actually think Lady Vengeance is a better film than Oldboy.
Yeah.
But I'll explain my reasoning in the review.
Yeah.
But if you want a really good introduction to the Vengeance Trilogy, Oldboy is the best place to start. I would watch them, to be honest, completely out of sequence.
Yeah.
I would watch Oldboy, Lady Vengeance, and then Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Yeah.
Because in that order, the films get more and more miserable.
Yeah.
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is probably the most miserable film I've ever seen.
I've got that, but I still haven't watched it yet.
It's another amazing film. It's like another probably 10 out of 10 film. The whole trilogy is 10 out of 10 for me.
Just depressing.
Just depressing, yeah. And the heavy films, there's a lot to take in. A lot of scenes and moments and ideas, and you kind of just got to take it in. But if you've not seen Oldboy and you want an intelligent action film, I can't recommend it enough, to be honest.
Even if you don't like foreign films, you'll forget a lot of it's visual storytelling anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if you don't like foreign films, just watch it and just take it all in. And like, I reckon you could watch this film just for the images and the fight scenes and still get some out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 classic.
Okay.
Check it out.